$4 billion and you got a mug.
Here,
Is that a new logo or something? This is an old one.
Nope, it's a new one.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right?
Oh.
I thought it was
I
appropriate.
like it.
I mean,
Yeah, so welcome to another Cryptowriter Round Table. And we've got a new thing that we're trying out with the EOSIO Block Producers. This will be volume 1. And of course, you know, we got all the best people first. And we're going to do these maybe once a month with different block producers, different time zones. So we're super stoked. We've got a couple surprise people, you know, that we're super happy to have. That usually aren't in this time zone, so that's kind of exciting. So we got Anders from EOS Sweden. We've got Sharif from EOS Dublin. We've got Adrianna from Cypherglass, and we've got EOS USA Michael. Most of you have been on the line with Corey and I, so you know how this works. We'll do some gratitudes, and then we'll dive in, I guess.
all right. Sorry, I was just trying to share this out too because I'm just trying to be like Adrianna all the time, frankly.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
I don't have social media, so
And generally, you're right, and generally failing.
You mean
what I loved was it was EOS USA from Michael.
Right. All right. Who wants to go first?
I'm grateful. I'm grateful my nodes are running.
I'm grateful for this bull market and validation of crypto.
Geez, that's like both of those are. I don't know which one I'm happier about, to be honest.
I don't know.
I
I don't know which ones I'm more scared about.
I'm gonna be happy that Turtle MQ is up and running.
What?
There you go. Turtle MQ. That's an Eric thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this a bull run or is it the validation cycle?
Yes.
I think it's all a bunch of doggies being seen in clouds. That's what I say any of this trading is. And the only reason it works is because everybody sees the same doggy in the clouds and says, oh, this is what we're going to do.
That's been true of like literally every story hyper intelligent monkeys have told each other from the beginning of time. So why not just enjoy it?
I, for one, am enjoying the Doge run. I do not see it as a bad thing. It's bringing all these noobs in, and that you know, it's getting them used to the volatility, and they're gonna learn, right? Like,
they're gonna learn what the 4 letters REKT mean on like May 9th.
It's yeah. I mean, there's not a whole lot of addresses holding. The distribution of Doge is horrible. I've tried telling people this, but I have become one of the Doge to the moon people because it's just not.
You're telling me that one billionaire might have a substantial stake in it? Didn't know.
Anyway, I'm grateful for Doge and the meme lords. I completely, totally agree. I am a little bit biased, having launched a meme coin myself at one point back in the day. But it's just like it's just another power, like community's power. It literally drives a lot of prices. And yes, there's some like rampant idiotic speculation. My Facebook feed is just full of it. Yeah, Doge is gonna go to like $300, right? Like, fuck me. Wow.
Math.
Yeah, no, math is not something that they're doing at all. Anyway,
logic doesn't even apply.
Not even remotely. No, it's just like number go uppy. That's it. And if number went uppy to 30 cents, it could go uppy to $3, right? Like, well, no. But if it did, like Doge would be the dominant currency in our civilization. You know, weirder things happen, right? Exactly. Fuck it. Like, I don't know.
I mean, if that happens, do we have to change the comment like when pigs fly to like when dogs ride on rockets? Like, is that how we do things? Because like
I mean, that would be I think for our show that would definitely be how we processed the entire changing of the guard of the financial world for sure.
Yeah. Like I'm not sure how that actually operates.
100%. Sharif, you want to go?
I'm not sure how to follow that. I'm just grateful for the grind. Everybody's still here, which is good. Yeah.
I like it. I personally appreciate that one these days.
And actually, I know how to follow that one as well, 'cause I'm just grateful for all EOS IO block producers personally, because I think you guys are awesome, all of you. Like I know sometimes there's disagreements or people see opposite sides of things, but in general, you're the reason that these chains keep running, and I don't think you get enough credit from the community for that.
Oh, Jimmy, we love you.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's not easy being an EOS, and if you still are, we're family.
It's been 3. That's what I was just looking at. It's been what, almost 3 years.
Anybody still in EOS is certainly here for the tech.
That was absolutely yes.
Somebody said that the other day. It's like this is really the only place where that line actually applies. Because yeah.
Best smart contract developers and engineers are in EOSIO. I can say that with 100% certainty. And it's sad to me that, like, I don't know, it's sad that we can't find a middle ground for all of these communities to work together and share what they've learned, because it feels like we're all working from different ends of the spectrum on what the problems are.
Corey's
yeah.
I mean, so like Corey always says this, right? And I think this is a really important point to lead off on. And he always points out that, like, EOS by nature is way more decentralized than Ethereum or Bitcoin, right? And like, if you look at the block producers and what they do, and then the FUD that comes in from the outside, I just want to ask you, what do you think? Like, now there are some ideas about cartels and things like that. I mean, we can sidestep all of that, but is DPoS and the way that EOS is set up, is that the best possible way to decentralize a blockchain, in your personal opinion?
I think it's a compromise. Like, not everything is going to need that kind of decentralization. I think it depends on what you're running and what data you're operating on that network. For example, do you need high transaction fees? Well, transaction fees can be useful in some cases. So in that case, maybe POS or POW is better for that, for whatever you're using consensus for. But I think in most cases, as long as you know who the node operators are and you can verify that, then the chain is pretty decentralized. And it's pretty hard to FUD 21 nodes. Like, I just don't see that happening. I think that the number 21 was something that was wasn't just picked out of thin air. I think Dan Larimer put a lot of time into that number and calculated that number. And, it's overlooked a lot. So I do think DPoS is a way forward for all permissionless networks. Like, it's a great way forward. Now, I will say that I'm skeptical and questioning whether KYC needs to be applied to the validators on some level. And that's where we tried with EOS when we came in with the Constitution at the very beginning, and that didn't really work out. But, I still would like to see some level of KYC around the validators, and I do think that's a component that's missing from DPoS to really make it stick. So yes and no. I think it's still the best way forward for scaling and throughput and being able to use permissionless networks, but I'd like to see more skepticism and like a process for verifying who these nodes and who these validators really are and what they're contributing to the network.
And from the EOSIO side, there's been a lot of different flavors and variations that have kind of spun off. A lot of them have what I kind of call the semi-public chains, is that, they're public entities and somewhat, selected from around the world, from a pool or a registration. But there is at least a little bit of a control and validation of, are they at least legitimate? Who are they? Who, like Wax does the OIG that kind of does a little bit of ranking, they don't directly control it, but they at least try to, have a little bit of validation and collection of that information to disseminate out. And then like even Proton, it's got a committee that does a little bit more of a control of BPs in and out, or mostly out. You can come in if you want, but if you're wrong or malicious or whatever, is that the chains have the ability to step in and at least protect itself from the whatever. Because decentralization is, I don't know, somewhat of a I don't know, misnomer, whatever you want to call it. That it's great in theory, but not everybody needs it to the full decentralized level, and it can hamper things. I mean, you see these chains that are truly decentralized. What is it? Analysis paralysis or whatever the hell it is, you know, that you just go round and round and nobody ever agrees on anything, and you know, you kind of get into
why they called
this.
it paralysis? Was it a giant experiment just to see that the merry-go-round of true decentralization? Is that how it works, Mike?
There have been some that have found themselves in that situation, you know. I mean, and that's real life too. You know, you get everybody on too many chiefs and not enough Indians, and all of a sudden you can't ever make a step forward because nobody can consensus. So anyway, the whole point is that, you know, some decentralization is good and some validation, but it doesn't have to be blindly decentralized, because that actually can hamper some of the progress of the chain.
I think transparency is more important, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have a similar argument with DAX sometimes, because like nothing gets accomplished. Like, I think the best state of the world would be if I was benign dictator and called all the shots. I think that would be the case that would work the best for everyone. But I'm kind of interested to hear Sharif and Anders' point of view on this as well, because I think like you said, like you know, Block One especially, it gets criticized for not being decentralized and keeping things shrouded, whereas some of the other blockchains do. But then, like as Adrianna pointed out, like there were issues. I think it was Adrianna that pointed out there were issues on a couple of other chains, like Tellus, for example, where there were block producers or validators, sorry, maybe it was Michael, validators that were, you know, found to be corrupt. They were, you know, double dipping, as it were, like a year ago, right? So you do have to find that balance.
Corrupt's probably a rough term to use, but
yeah, well, okay, I'll just take the block producer part out of my name, but like, just like, but anyway, like I'd be interested. Fair enough, Michael. But I'd be interested to hear Sharif and Anders' point of view on just the decentralization thing.
Yeah, so the decentralization thing gets bandied around quite a lot, and I don't think anybody's really touched on what's important around these decentralized networks, and that's that they're permissionless. Anybody can join them or deploy something or own some tokens or move some tokens, and that they're resilient, so that, you know, nobody can take them down, or there's enough backups to come in to take them offline. What happened on EOS, in my opinion, is that, you know, we got some external FUD saying it's not decentralized enough, and everybody kind of freaked out and said, oh no, we are, because we're this and we're that and the other, rather than just concentrating on building shit. I mean, nobody really cares what blockchain stuff is running on unless they own the protocol token. All of the activity on the Ethereum network at the moment is all happening above the base layer. It's all happening in DeFi or NFTs, and nobody gives a shit, right? And I think there's been too much talk in EOS about how do we do this or whatever, when the real issue is who's getting the tokens from inflation and what are they doing with them. And that, to me, has always been the problem on EOS and continues to be. So yeah, I don't know whether that answers your questions or.
Yeah. That's a good point, Sharif. I like the way you put
that. So I have two things I want to do now. I want to hear Anders' point of view, and I want to know why Adrianna was shaking her head before. So let's go with door number one, Anders first, and then we'll come back to you again.
Yeah, like your first question was, is DPoS here to be better than everything else? And I think that's the wrong question to ask.
Fair enough.
Because I don't think the goal is to be better than anyone else, but to have a blockchain that actually works and can be used, where developers can build things on top of it and actually interact and do things on chain, which Wax has shown that EOSIO can do. That's simple. I mean, Alien Worlds has had 250,000 accounts doing things. I'm not going to say users, because a lot of them are bots doing multiple things. And on top of that, there has been a lot of usage, trading NFTs, playing Our Planet. Our Planet, there's no reason to be a bot there. And there's, I think it's 26,000 users when I checked a few days ago. And all of these are happening at the same time. So DPoS is definitely working. And I think that Sharif is correct here, that we should look where the inflation, where the money actually goes, if it goes to teams that actually contribute to the growth of the ecosystem, or if it goes to pocket of people that just want to grow their own pockets. Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah, so that's fair. That's a fair point. That's the wrong question to ask. I mean, personally,
I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
DPoS is like gets this rap, and I talk to all my other crypto friends who, quite honestly, don't like EOS and don't understand EOSIO, and don't understand that there's a difference. So when I sit there and explain, like, okay, let's take Wax for example. Wax is using EOSIO for this very specific goal of, you know, being this NFT marketplace and this NFT blockchain. They have this very specific business goal. That's why Wax is successful, because they have enough decentralization, but enough control over how this system operates as a community. To me, that's decentralized. Whereas other people are going to say, oh, the way the nodes work and the way this system works is not decentralized because of your validators are picked and because your community is not running nodes. So it's always this battle between what you consider decentralization. For me, EOSIO and DPoS is decentralized enough, right, for what those business goals are. Wax is a perfect use case of this, where it's a community gathered around an ethos. They're all agreeing to an ethos. They've written those ethos down. They've, you know, in different ways, and applied them to their validators and held them accountable that way. For me, decentralized enough. For other people, maybe not so much, but you'd be crazy to argue that it's not 10 times more efficient for NFTs than Ethereum. So it's just about what perspective you're looking at it from and what you're using this technology for to begin with. That's going to define what you think about it. So really, it's a perspective problem, I think. DPoS has this nasty reputation right now, and that's mostly because of the lack of representation and lack of leadership from the people that created EOSIO. They haven't put forth any effort. So it's a muddled mess right now. And I'm finding that the EOSIO community and EOS community, quite frankly, is starting to break away from that narrative and starting to try to create their own narrative because they're tired of waiting around for Block One or Brendan Bloomer to do anything.
So much for not touching that last chat that we had in private with the 10-foot pool. But no, like I think like you're right, and I've been saying this like for a while, right? And I think that like that's the thing, right? Like I think that the community waiting around for Block One to do what they're going to do just tells me that they're not ready for decentralization. Like if you're waiting for a single entity to take the reins of something, then you're not really for decentralization in a way, right? I just remember like when Dan left and there was a bit, oh my God, our leaders left. Well, you've been bitching that they haven't been doing anything now, and now he's back in the governance thing, right? And I've kind of stepped away from that personally because I don't care, because where my heart is, where I see the benefits, especially of the EOS main chain, for example, is all of the block producers that are tailored towards taking on different aspects, doing different things, right? And I think that's what's important. Like, I mean, if you look at EOS Sweden, you know, what they're doing is they're one of the few block producers that are actually running full history node on the blockchain, right? You look at Michael, EOS USA, for example, I mean, they're doing like a lot of different things. Cypherglass is doing different things. EOS Dublin, I'm sorry, you guys can, you know, fill me in on what exactly you all do, but like there's a long list of people like Jenner EOS is doing community outreach, like, you know, a lot of people who are here like doing all of these different things. And that's what makes the chain decentralized, in my opinion. That's what makes it tick. That's what makes it work. That's what gives people the tools. I could be wrong.
I'm going to disagree heavily. I'm going to disagree heavily because at this point, it's not about the expectations. I think everybody needs to stop using that word. It's not expectations. It's broken promises. There's a difference. Like there's expectations that we all had. Oh gosh, they're going to do something. That's our fault. I take responsibility there. But then there's broken promises. Where are my 1 million users for voice? Where's the marketing? Where's the revenue sharing? Where are these things? Because They should be. They were things that were promised and provided. And I'm sorry, but at this point, after 3.5 years in the ecosystem, you're not going to hide behind regulation and compliance with me, because it's not that either. And I am of the opinion that when leadership insulates itself, something is wrong. So no, I think that there is a line between holding their feet to the fire and then doing your own work and taking responsibility for your part of the network. I think most people in the network have done a great job of that. I can honestly say that all of the block producers I've worked with have put forth effort into this community. But when we're putting forth effort and Block One, who's not doing anything, who holds 10% of the supply, is directly gaining from my work and not doing anything, I have a problem with that. Like, I have a problem with people who are going to do better off of my work who aren't doing anything. So
I agree with you, but I mean, especially being here in the States, I mean, it's still a very, very slippery slope. I mean,
now hold on.
What's that?
I got $4 billion. I can fuck shit up with $4 billion. And all of it regulated, right? And this is the thing. Like, I'm like super close to an idiot. By myself, I could have done better than they've done. Because they're not actually deploying the resources. Now, look, you might be
I don't disagree that things could have been done better.
Cycle when you have $400 billion, but it's just that's completely and totally that's a failure to the community. They could be doing things and they're not. And when they step out, they're like, let's spend $40 million on a fucking URL. It's ridiculous.
Dude, I haven't seen, like, I can count the number of things I've seen come out of Block One, and they're not good. So
on my arms, I could count them.
What's with the secrecy? Like, I will tell them, okay, you've done good. You turned $4 billion of ICO money into $10 billion of Bitcoin. Okay, great, cool. You did that. I get that you're trying to compete with a $300 million marketplace at Ethereum, but you're not even competing. You're not.
Exactly. Wax is going to beat them. Just doing business stuff.
Well, hold on. I mean, you're comparing EOS to Wax, but I mean, on Block One and the EOSIO side of things.
Like, how many brands has EOS talked to? None. Right?
No deal flow whatsoever.
Well, but that's also, I don't explicitly limit their ability to contribute back as like marketing efforts or whatever.
Well, of course,
because, like, for instance,
if they had successfully done anything.
Being in IT for decades, I can't tell you many multi-billion-dollar software companies that have their lead developers heavily engaged in real-time chat. As a matter of fact, like when Wax starts having problems, we talk with the Block One engineers and say, hey, you know, I mean, what can we do? Patches get released, even backroom channels to, you know, secure things to be able to fix it. So it's not.
So you said
that doesn't do good for visibility. I mean, I agree. There's many things, you know, the VC and all of that funding and all of that. But from a technical aspect, that's been a surprising, their level of interaction from the
but
advance the product.
Maintaining the core code, cool. That's your job. You raised all that money. I'm not impressed. Where's the EOS Foundation? Where's the revenue sharing? Where is it? That's what I want to know. Because at this point in the game, I'm doing work to make them more rich, and I'm not cool with it. So where is it? And on that question, the right question to ask is what should one be doing? It should be, how do we move forward as a community, but just hold them accountable. Like, we shouldn't. It shouldn't be both ways. We shouldn't have to side with them and be like, yeah, they're great, just to support the chain. And sometimes I feel that when I speak my mind, I'm punished as a block producer. I get votes taken away from me. I get people unfollowing me from Block One, even.
I feel like I've heard that from Sharif before too.
And I'm just sitting here going, if you put half as much effort into the fluffy marketing that you guys do into one product, everything would be different.
Well, and actually, like, I'm not on the opposite side of you. I actually agree wholeheartedly. I've just kind of lost faith. And, like, I've done better marketing for other projects than Block One, I see, personally, that I won't say that directly. But anyway, my synonyms. But like Sharif, I kind of want to, like, you've been shaking your head over there quietly, and I kind of want to know, like, is this an American problem? Like, it might be. I don't think it is, but like, you know, it's a good segue.
Is this an American problem? No, it's not an American problem. And I've been, you know, critical of Block One publicly and privately, right? They haven't been a very positive community member as a whole. You know, they didn't vote for so long. Even now, they're not voting with any kind of direction or any specificness. They're pulling votes. They're moving things. The public blockchain engagement has been poor. Let me just say that. But I don't think that the problems that EOS have, the EOS mainnet has, are as a direct result of Block One. I think Block One could have done more, but as a community, we didn't get together. We weren't backing projects. We weren't, you know, investing and following in. There's been so many projects that have started and users didn't join, or maybe the wallets weren't there. Or, you know, as a community, we didn't support the scatter guys, or we didn't support Chintai when it happened, or we didn't support. You know, there's so many of these initiatives that as a community we kind of expected, oh, Block One raised all that money, maybe they should do it. The stake within EOS has always been skewed towards, you know, some mega whales, and they're of the opinion that Block One needs to invest in these projects rather than them following in. And as a result of that, there's been a structural issue with the whole project in that, you know, we've brought so many projects and startups to EOS VC or to other VCs, and they, you know, the question is always, if Block One or EOS VC are not investing in this, why should we? How can we? We can't. And that's been a real problem. The other issue
that was a really big sore point with me as well. Like, that whole VC thing was a mess, and that's kind of where I saw things like turning really bad, right? And like, that's kind of the thing, like some of the most solid real world projects that I believe in, that like I work closely with, I honestly think there's tons of them out there, right? But like, a lot of them had to go through and get their own funding. I mean, a really good example is Blockbase, right? Like, they needed AGAP2 funding to get it from like the European Union, right? Like Wombat, they secured private funding, and they were, you know, one of the clutches, right? And I think that was like kind of the turning point for me, where I realized that, like, you know, this is why community sentiment is bad. And like, Adrianna, I kind of understand what you're saying, but like, I kind of feel the same way maybe as Sharif on this. Like, I feel like, I feel like my biggest problem is just that, like, the community needs to support the block producers a little bit more in a way. I mean, like, because I think if the community rallied, yeah, if I just think maybe I'm being over optimistic here, but I feel like if the community understood what the block producers are doing behind the scenes and supported them more directly than complaining about Block One, then maybe it wouldn't matter. Like, I understand that they need to be held accountable for what they promised and they didn't deliver, but we're all still here because it's good tech, right? I mean, that's kind of my personal stance.
The problem, and to just what Sharif just described, like what he just said, I respect what you just said, Sharif, and I say this out of love because I watched all of you work your asses off and try to support each other. No. The reason Scatter and the reason these projects didn't get any air underneath them and any users is because there was no way to get funding from the ICO to them. So no, I disagree. It wasn't that the community didn't support them. It's not that the community won't stop talking about this. It's that this network and the way that it is distributed and who holds these tokens is not taking responsibility for funding the projects that are making this token valuable. So there's a strong disconnect there.
What I hear, and of course I don't really know, but you know, just the grumblings around, but makes sense, is that, you know, a lot of people, they put $4 billion into that ICO, into that, and that's what they considered their investment to get it going. And so whenever the community came back and said, well, why aren't you investing more money into it? Back to that other conversation is, well, we already invested billions over here. And they're not investing in it.
Well,
remember, just remember for 1 second,
funded a bunch of Ethereum shit.
Yeah, but just remember for 1 second, from the day the network from the day the network launched, we were saving 4% inflation into the EOSIO.savings fund. And for some reason, the guys who were managing it decided, here, we'll burn this twice. That was the fund that was necessary for the community to invest in infrastructure projects, community building projects, education projects, etc., etc., etc. They did that, and then when there was no more resources and all of the vote trading and vote buying kicked off, so even the active block producers are saying that they're making no money and making losses, that there's no money. This has always been a capital allocation issue. There's not enough money going to the people that are building shit and shipping stuff, and that's it. All of the other networks that are out there that are growing like crazy have, advanced grant programs. They have, investment funds that are around specifically targeting that. And EOS didn't have that from the day one. Block One were obviously handcuffed with their own legal things, playing defense to try and keep their stack for the first 18 months. But the community didn't recognize that as being an issue and saying, fuck, we need to solve this ourselves. Instead, they, put out a whole load of Alamo memes about burning shit.
It's
yeah,
true.
Here we are.
So I want to point to a new topic, but just before we finish up, Tech Geek said in the comments, didn't EOS buy BTC? And so I just want to say this from my personal perspective, again, not January's stance by any means, but Corey and I, when we first started the show, it was called EOSIO Weekly, and we used to do this thing, and we were like overtly critical. Not as critical as we are today. I kind of like it, but like we were overtly critical on every episode about this, and my stance was like, you can complain about Block One all you want, but like them investing in BTC was smart. Now my biggest problem with it is that they never took those returns and put it back into the ecosystem, right? Like they've grown their coffers like huge, and I think everyone has a good point there. But then like on top of that, like you said, Sharif, destroying that EOSIO fund and like taking all of this incentive away, that was bad. So essentially what happened, for those of you out there that don't know, I think the block producers on the channel will know, a lot of block producers that were founding block producers in a way, they had trouble making ends meet, and they actually had to port to like being block producers on other chains. So that was another thing that I kind of wanted to bring up. Like, I know Anders is heavily involved in Wax, and you guys are, involved in other blockchains. So what other blockchains are you involved with? What other EOSIO blockchains, and why, and what are the advantages, and maybe what are you looking forward to? Like if we can talk about that, I think that would be a nice segue with what you just said, Sharif, if that's okay. If anyone wants to harp back on anything else, feel free, but I'd like to move away.
All of them. I run them all.
Is this where I do the chop? Where
Michael does everything.
Where the Darth Vader Michael EOS USA comes out.
Does anyone run any non-EOSIO nodes these days?
Michael,
I run. I do a lot of blockchain.
On fire somewhere in a basement in the Southwest.
There's we've got a massive. Do you include Bitcoin mining? I mean, lots of Bitcoin.
Node you have. I want to hear.
So I don't know if you've seen, but yeah, I mean, our parent company is a blockchain company, so it's basically all things blockchain, and we got lots and lots of little toasters that are producing Bitcoin, some liquid cooled, some air cooled in containers, and so anyway, I mean, we do a lot heavily on the Bitcoin side of it.
I like how you say that. Like we're Michael EOS USA, but our parent company, like they're a blockchain company.
Well, that's what it is. It's Trace blockchain, and so I'm just a division. Most people don't realize that, but I'm just kind of a small division. We love blockchain, and so we do all the blockchains and all the different techs and everything. And of course, fell in love with EOS and the concept of blockchain 3.0 type of thing. So that's why we've always. That's when they really brought me on dedicated to do the DPoS side of it. But we've got ETH mining rigs. We've got ETH Geth nodes. I've got BSC nodes. I've got some of the other rando, chains. I mean, we try them all out because, I mean, as you know, we like all the chains and all the tech. Is that maximalism and we're going to win and these other people suck is what's crippled a lot of the innovation in this space, in my opinion, is that, and EOSIO explicitly talking about sharding natively built into it. That was one of the things we were kind of sold on that still has been a failure, in my opinion, is to deliver, is that EOSIO was the tech. It was, okay, everybody kind of runs the same, but Wax can specialize, and Proton can specialize, and Telos can specialize, and all these different, chains, but then maybe still all coexist natively in the same ecosystem and work with each other. And that has not been the case. There's been maximalists all over the place, and you have to choose one or the other. It's not as much as it was, but early on, you didn't choose multiple chains. We were one of the first ones, just because we came in late to the party on EOS, so we were so far down. Is all right. I mean, I have nothing to lose, so we started playing with all the rest of them.
I mean, if Block 1 could have done one thing, everything wrong and one thing right, it was freaking IBC. Like I hear Anders.
That to me is my biggest
struggling out there, right? Like what you got, Anders? So, yeah, I mean, like they would have just done that. They could have done everything else wrong and been okay, right? But like that's like where
that's not a true statement, but I get where you're coming from.
So what, like on the IBC thing, like who's gonna build that, and do we need to just set up a pool where we fund that shit?
Oh my God! It's already been built. It's falling apart.
No,
there are other people that have proposed. The Boyd crew, I think, has a proposal out there for an IBC solution, and the backlash I think that they tend to catch is some of the maximalists is that no, why do I want the other EOSIO chains? Integrate to ETH or integrate, if you're gonna go outside of our bubble,
we're gonna do it anyway. I'll tell you that right now. Like when we do withdrawals of Upliftium from the uplift, it's gonna go to every chain we fucking feel like, right? And so the degree to which you sequester yourself on a chain is the degree to which and the speed at which you will fail. Like this is not intranet anymore; it's internet, and you can keep fucking around if you want, but that your price will show it. Might take a minute, but your chain will just die.
Well, and I mean, I feel like when we win, whenever you're going to go to an app and you're going to use multiple chains because you're going to do something that triggers, this is what this chain does. This is what this chain does. I mean, and to the end user, they don't fucking care.
Right. Just don't charge them fucking $80 in a transaction fee because that's real dumb.
Unless
you're trading like $1 billion worth of stuff.
There's a whole nother conversation about can a chain function on transaction fees or not? Because it is almost unsustainable for the block producers to run depots when there's no recourse for annihilating the resources. You know what I mean?
Right.
Is that why ETH doesn't get DDoSed? Is because it would cost millions of dollars in fees.
Right. What's the middle ground, right? Because if you're paying like $2 a transaction, or for some different kinds of transactions, because again, like the games aren't going to work if you're doing too much, right? And or just make, and I think Anders said this, like make the apps pay for it, right? Like what's as block producers, what would be the best situation for you guys so that, because we, win has to be real, right? Like how do we make it so that you guys are comfortably winning, and we're not, sort of crushing the end user?
So I don't know, like transaction fees to me are good and bad depending on what scenario. Like in Ethereum, I look at them as almost this entry to barrier. Like you've got to put skin in the game to be in that ecosystem. And I think that's a good thing. Now, what I don't think is a good thing is that that network can't really stick it to the miners. They have no idea if the miners are manipulating the gas prices, and they probably are at sometimes. Like that's definitely happening.
I think they know.
So, that's my thought on Ethereum's gas fees. Like there's no checks and balances to that system. However, when somebody's going in to a smart contract that's, could get rug pulled and yada, 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 you kind of have this, well, I want someone to pay their way into this contract because it's like, I know you're going to hold that capital. Like, I know you're more likely to not exit that pool of capital because you don't want to pay that fee. Now, there's good and bad to these things. Like I'm of the opinion that not every transaction needs that kind of consensus, right? Like not every transaction needs, that timestamp. So it just depends on what your user is using that blockchain for and what you as a developer are trying to accomplish with that smart contract. Is that your monetization model? Do you need a transaction fee? It's all about how you build it and what blockchains you're using for what functions, to me.
So I love that, because I think of that transaction, especially with like Uniswap or with all these things, is like it reduces the velocity of it, right? And it bothers me sometimes because the DeFi situation there means that rich people moving tons of money around can do so at will and essentially just eat the poor people's money, right? And it does lock more capital there, which is great. And there's something interesting to that. Sorry, go ahead.
Wait, you're saying rich people on the network, but I call them early adopters who are favored for being early adopters.
Or just rich people who put $1 million into Ethereum, right? Like that doesn't mean that they could have showed up 5 seconds ago.
But that, to me, what EOS
Most of the early adopters have taken their bags and got their Lambos.
Maybe it's just means like the thing is, if you're in a financial instrument and you and again, this should go to the trader and to the if you don't have the money to play in that field, you shouldn't be, right? So there's that part of it as well. But however you got that money, the income inequality potential of that is just rampant. Right. And again, like the way the market's going to deal with this is, there's going to be DeFi situations on Wax and everywhere else where the transaction fees aren't going to exist. But they also, to your point, they might not work as well because there will be that lack of disincentive to pull your money out.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not in it for the market. I'm in it for the tech, and the tech is fucked. So we're all screwed.
I love you, but that's anybody who's like, I'm not here for the money. I'm like, you're here on the financial layer of the internet. What do you think you're doing?
Yeah.
No. But like, here's my thing, right? Like, why I love blockchain and why I love EOS, and this is my thing, right? Like, I think that allowing everyone, and I could be outvoted on this, but I think that like with things like DeFi, especially allowing everyone an equal opportunity to participate in this ecosystem is what the promised land for me is, right? Like as a permaculturalist, as a person who looks at the third world and sees like where banks can go. Just a sec, right? I'll get to you in a minute. Where the person like where we can excel in blockchain. That's what excites me, right? Whether that's right or wrong, that's what excites me, right? And so I'm kind of with Corey on the fact that like, the fact that like you have to have that amount of capital to be able to participate in DeFi on these pay for transaction networks is problematic for me, right?
No. These are blue chips now. They did their time in the market. They've gone up in value. If you were around back in the day, you could have bought Ethereum for $9. Nobody was stopping you. This is a free
I did buy Ethereum cheap. But part of the reason that I'm partial to EOSIO chains is because I don't want to play in that game. That's not a game that I want to play.
But that's the beauty of finding the next big chain, right? Like that's the beauty of crypto is there's always another chain. There's always another smart contract. There's always another permissionless network. I think to me, as long as you have internet access and you're a human being and you can get to these networks, that's it. That's the end game for being a free market. It's then on that person, whether they bought the token or not, held it or not, whether you got priced into a blue chip. So no, I don't have a problem with Ethereum being $3,500. I don't have an issue because it brings more users down to these other smart contract networks that do need money and do need funding to be able to grow. Personally, like I think Ethereum has done a fantastic job. I'm not mad at Ethereum at all. I think they have proven that when you have a community of people that really believe in it and are pushing behind something, you can drive a permissionless network anywhere. So personally, I'm not knocking Ethereum. They have problems, but I think we could all take a page from the way they treat their resources on their chain. Like they really value those things to the point.
100% agree.
Yeah, that to me, like, whereas I think EOS, our resources are too readily available, which is what causes the token price to not go up in value. Where Ethereums are not readily available enough, which means they're very limited, very scarce, so they rise easily.
Well, and I mean, add to that the community support that they get for things like Polkadot, and it's a game changer. That's what Block One, in my opinion, should have had, or should have done, or should have been. But sorry, I gotta be quiet and let other people talk. Because Anders is super quiet up there, and Sharif is super quiet, and Michael's contemplating something or farming watermelons. I'm not sure which.
I'm harvesting, chasing my sheep down right now. No,
So
I'm listening to Adrianna.
But I do want to say this before I cut myself off. So we're not giving away any finnies today, even though we're on the Cryptowriter channel and we're sponsored. If you want finnies, go to the Cryptowriter Telegram channel. They're gonna do like a cool like variation of a quiz later, and like if you answer questions, if you've tuned in for the whole show, and you can answer questions about what happened on this panel, then you might get yourself some finnies, and they're pretty cool. You can burn them down. Not in the Ben Harper way, but like in a cool crypto way. And you can get like something really cool out of it, and it'll be super sweet. So yeah, do that and carry on as you were. Whoever needs to speak now. And that's how you close down a room, ladies and gentlemen.
I was about to say, I don't know how I can follow up behind that. I mean,
No, but really, like EOS should be the blockchain that we like. It was born out of building out small teams from all over the world so they can work on something. It was supposed to be a chain that everyone can use, and in my opinion, it's turning into a chain that no one can use. That is why I love Wax, because a new user can come to Wax and can use it from the start, and he can interact with everything. A new user cannot come to Ethereum and do whatever. It's impossible. It can come to layers on top of Ethereum, but not on Ethereum. So there are solutions to it. EOS was that. There was free ways to do resources. You could come in, you could interact with it. You didn't have to pay a lot of money to get going. If you wanted to do a lot of things, you had to get some resources. And it was sold to be virtual land where you could buy your tokens and you could have these resources forever, which there are no more. Doing anything on EOS is costly, and it is, in my opinion, the wrong path to go with the new resource model. In many reasons. dApps should be able to pay for all their users, and if they have enough tokens and stake them, that should be all they need, right? At least that's my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah. So you and I had this conversation in private, or somebody else, and you can just pretend it wasn't you if you're worried about it. But like we were actually talking about like the gray mass and what they did with the fuel, and like porting towards that to try to solve this problematic idea of like having to pay for transactions and things like that. And now with this kind of like power up model, like the whole marketing was essentially, we're going to provide free transactions for everyone. And, now that's not a thing. So they're kind of sidestepping all of this stuff. So like, I'm not even going to ask a question. I'm just going to leave it.
Why is free transactions the thing that we're still trying to hold on to?
It's a good question.
I just don't get it,
From
the very start, when they were spamming "I love BM," and then we had the shitcoin mining, and this, a microtransaction fee would have solved this right up front. We'd have a completely different
and like
situation.
do it on Wax. Like if it's,
yes,
I love the microtransaction idea.
That's the
like
part.
just do it. Like
because it's not the microtransaction. That's the problem.
Right. It's CPU that like the second I get 1,000 users onto a new wallet, and they're like complete no coiners, right? And everything's going fantastic. And then they're like, what is the CPU thing? And they're gone forever.
Yeah, like, but that stuff shouldn't run. That stuff shouldn't touch the blockchain.
I know.
Like the way people are architecting stuff. It was mind-boggling. We were running dice games right on the blockchain for what? There was absolutely no fucking reason to do it.
You know how much uplifting?
Have the settlements there, have the currency there, have the value there, have all your compute off the blockchain. It's bonkers.
Corey, you remember when we were first starting some of our conversations about things in the blockchain, is it was like, don't do it doesn't need to all be smart contract. Do as much as you can off chain and that was always the trustworthy and verifiable.
Right.
Is that, just push an action to the blockchain when it needs to be versus completely living and dying. And
that's it.
The world is a whole different environment.
We're going to be publishing an asinine amount of information to the blockchain just for you. So like, we're also doing different things.
I am begging for you to stay on the chain. That is true.
No, I know, and I get that. But at the same time, like we could, it'd be awesome if we had an API that charged anyone that was accessing it and had a microtransaction that was going back to the block producers. Like that, we can make that work, right? Because there's an immense amount of value in that information, it's just a matter of having people that are accruing that value on themselves. Just sticking the cup in the water to make sure that the entire network is fed constantly.
Maybe. Yeah. So one of the things you're always talking about, Corey, which I quite like, is the whole idea of like attention economies, right? And in a way, like some of these like dice games and things like that, that's attention economy, and maybe what you were saying about Pig Wiggly,
Pigwig, yeah, for our planet too.
Right, his idea like that he created this thing, all these people are creating these things and they're not taking anything in return, like that tells me like that there's some pretty like strong community members in Wax. And Corey's always saying you need to charge for this kind of stuff, and I personally like think that that's a great idea, and I just wish that like people would be more rewarded for what they put into the system, what they do. And I guess that's supposed to be baked into the contract that operates and runs the whole thing, but it doesn't really seem to be working always. So yeah, I'm not really on the block producer side. Like I kind of write things that I think I understand, and that's about it, right? Like I go to the experts to like get my information. So don't blame the messenger. But I think like the other chains that are coming out for me are personally more exciting, right? Like if you look at the other chains, and I'm kind of porting away from EOS mainnet in a way, but if you look at the other chains, if you look at Wax, if you look at the potential of Ultra, we don't really know how that's going to end up, right? If you look at what FIO is doing, with their EOSIO tech to be able to basically have one address for all of these users, that's what excites me about the technology. I guess maybe in a way I've kind of thrown in the towel on what EOS can become, and I do kind of see like it as worth.
See, why does it have to be thrown in the towel on what EOSIO has become? In my opinion, that's exactly what. Or
sorry,
what
not what EOS. What EOSIO has become. I misspoke there. Like kind of.
I think you said EOS. I said EOS. I think I squared that. But the point is that let EOS, like what we consider Bitcoin is the financial bridge, the mother of all, the US dollar of crypto, whatever you want to call it. Man, bad, but EOS can have it be a financial vehicle and not be able to do apps, and easy login and stuff like that, but let the rest of the EOSIO community focus on what they do, like you talk about.
I don't have any problems with that statement. The problem is I feel like I'm helpless sitting in EOS waiting for so there was a great article that was put out. There was a great video that actually I sent to Corey and some of the other people on our team that talks about investing in cryptocurrencies and blockchain. And it was really interesting because it was like the people who are doing well are the people who are building stuff, right? And the quote, the famous quote was, "There's nothing worse than sitting waiting for something to happen that you can't control." And that's kind of the way that I feel about EOS in a way, right? Like waiting for Block One to make these decisions, waiting for all of this stuff to happen. When you look at other chains like what Wax is doing, or what FIO is doing with the technology, or potentially, because I've seen the betas of Ultra, and I think that looks awesome. This is where we onboard mass users. Now I really hope that EOS and Block One and this whole financial thing that they're putting through goes well, right? I'm still holding EOS, right? I'm still working for a block producer that's invested in that ecosystem. I hope it goes well, but I'm not gonna peg all of my hopes on it. So I think what annoys me the most actually are the maximalists, because for me, I can't remember who said it earlier, but for me, the more important thing is like looking at all of these other chains and what they're doing. And so I think on this panel, again, back to this, I think we've got a plethora of people, a very small sample of people who are all invested in other blockchains, right? And I think I'm just curious, I know Anders is heavy into Wax. I'm not sure what the rest of you are. I mean, apparently Michael has his own, blockchain cult where he's taken over the world because he's in
all
every.
Of them. Yeah, I don't count.
Adrianna and Sharif, what other blockchains are you guys invested in and why?
Yeah, so we're also on Wax and we're very active there. Proton, Telos.
Proton.
Yeah, Eurochain. So we were one of the first teams to kind of recognize that look, there's not just going to be one chain, right? That just doesn't make any sense. There's talented people that are looking to gather around a specific stack and build specific things, and they need a geographical presence. They need wide reach. They need the way to onboard community, to have customer support for community, and that's what we do on all of the projects that we're involved in. I'm not throwing in the towel on EOS just yet. I think there's many rolls of the dice to go. It's a highly liquid token, and it's high performant, and it's able to upgrade a lot slower than a lot of people would hope. It can make changes, but look, it's been a wild ride to get here. Wax wouldn't be doing as well as it is without all of the teams that gathered the experience on the EOS mainnet, bringing it to Wax, and that's how these things evolve. It's not one or the other. It's everything.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not throwing in the towel on EOS. I'm just throwing in the towel on trying to make shit happen on EOS, and I'd rather cover other chains at this point. That's kind of what I'm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Using DeFi box is probably the best DeFi protocol ever.
I mean,
the best one I have used ever.
Yeah, that's going pretty well. It's like, and I'd love to get this answer from each of you. Like, if you had to put something on EOS, right, and you had, I don't know, 5 million to debit, whatever the hell, right? What would you put on EOS that you wouldn't put somewhere else because it was better?
It's built for swaps. Like, it's built.
I'll say finance, something finance, because that's billions of dollars.
Arbitration and finance to me, or like arbitration and swapping, is exactly what it's built for. Like low cost transactions to be able to send value. To me, and even when I first got into EOS, back when I was much more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I was like, this is good money. Like, this is great P2P money to me. It's a fantastic currency. Like, why wouldn't I want to peg this to other tokens and use it as a wrapped asset, right? Like, it makes total sense to me. But we really came in strong with this idea that it was going to be a smart contract dApp network, and that just is not what it turned out to be. To Anders' point, like, that it just couldn't handle that kind of that kind of transaction volume and those kinds of contracts with the resources the way they were. So now I think it's just good money. Like, when I want to send someone some value, sending it in EOS makes total sense because your account can be custom. It's easier, and I can send it to you near instantly for pretty cheap. If you're in EOS and you have Anchor Wallet and you're using free CPU, it's no problem.
A lot of people use EOS to move currency from exchange to exchange. It's much quicker than using Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything else.
That's how I do it.
That's
I think
the use case. It needs to be that layer.
I think the other benefit to the financial layer is that, like, you can better customize keys, right? Like, it's more secure in that sense than just having one key for one protocol in some of the other blockchains, right? Like, you can have.
Most people don't realize that is a huge feature that's so overlooked.
It certainly is. It's a killer feature, but I don't believe we've nailed the UX on that. It's just difficult for people to get that permission set up and manage the keys. If I was Block One, I'd have a massive bounty for an open source wallet that features all of these. I'd have a massive bounty out there for IBC. And a few other things.
I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get sidetracked again. But what happened to the other massive bounty projects that kind of happened from Block One? Where did they go? They ported over to other chains, which I think is good, right? But that's kind of
Saeed won a bounty for the ETHVM, right? If they put the money out there, smart people will come and build shit a lot quicker than they will.
It's built. Why isn't it being used? This is what's nuts. Right?
I mean, it is kind of being used. It may not be being used on EOS, but I know some chains and projects that have started playing with it. So I mean, not to say that it's not being used.
Yeah, fair enough. But like that's the thing, right? Like, they paid all this bounty to have it used, but it's not being used on the mainnet, right?
Again, you're focusing on it being EOS. Is it EOS or EOSIO?
No, I'm not focusing on it being EOS. This is kind of conjunct with my comment that so I'm a fan of EOSIO. I always have been. If you go back and you read anything I've ever written, I've never been a maximalist. I've always actually kind of been anti-EOS, and I always thought that, like, the one thing that Block One might have done right, as opposed to not losing 90% of their ICO funding in the bear market, which a lot of other projects did. It is the fact that they're maintaining the code that other chains could use, and so I'm probably going to get jumped on for that. But I think that, like what you're saying, Michael, the benefit of other chains being able to adopt this technology and use it, because I'm a big believer in the fact that Wax is, in a way, Wax is built for NFTs, right? They make it onboarding easy, right? And from what I've seen from Ultra, they're going to be built for gamers. I'm a big fan of not having one protocol. I'm a big fan of having this protocol that can be tailored to different chains for different use cases. Because as Sharif said before, you don't need, and Adrianna maybe hinted at it as well, you don't need all of these protocols in place that's going to be the same for gamers as you do for like mainstream financial institutions, right? And maybe I've been throwing a lot of shade at the EOS mainnet, but maybe this is part of the problem. Maybe the problem is figuring out a way to make people feel secure with blockchain that aren't normally, and this is what the EOS mainnet is working on. I don't know. I'm not that smart to figure that out, but I don't think that's the way forward to mass adoption. I think the way forward to mass adoption is gamers, people who like to collect, and probably some application that tracks people's food habits, because that seems to be big on social media across the board. So, I mean, food chain, if anyone's out there as a developer listening, it might work. I'm just saying.
Food tokens are definitely now that was actually 2020.
Yeah.
So I do any of you, I think this is interesting because I'm, kind of tired of asking questions. Do any of you have any questions that you'd like to ask anyone else? I think that might be fun. We've never done that before. I mean,
no, there was one question in the comments, about another blockchain from Nick. He says, Nano. And the reason why I think that EOS or EOSIO is perfect for financial projects overall is because it's very easy to create an account recovery system. It is super easy, but no one has provided a good alternative for it, and I do not understand why.
Yeah, I do. I personally give all the kudos in the world to the Wax Core team. They've done an amazing job all around of really.
But they don't have an account recovery either.
But there's no account recovery. And
nowhere.
If somebody could build that, because I know
there's no money. There's no money.
There's nothing to be built.
Oh well.
It already exists. Just that someone has to have a service for it.
Oh, yeah. So
it is super easy. I made a video on it a while ago just to make a statement on it. But
Anders, I feel like you just buy yourself a job there, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, I do not want to manage people's.
So who should?
But it does sound like
you.
No. It sounds like good. I mean, I didn't know that, and that's kind of cool for me to hear because we're building a bunch of stuff right now. And if that's something like an ecosystem needs, it should be a node that's trying to compete to build it. So maybe we'll build it. Maybe we'll help.
Awesome.
Guys, I've got to drop off. It's been fun.
Good seeing you, Sharif.
Always good seeing you.
Nick is asking what I mean about account recovery. So,
well, just a second. Yeah. Sorry. Never mind. Go ahead. He's already gone.
He's already gone.
It's all good. No, but account recovery. It's very easy. You set up a multi-sig on your account on the owner key, which since you can have different weight on different keys, you can have owner key that you control only. And then you can say that, okay, I need a weight of 3 to do any changes. And then you give an owner key right to 3 different teams all over the world. It could be your mom, your friend, your dog, or whatever, if your dog is a computer nerd. And those people have a weight of 1. So if they sign the same transaction, the multi-sig, to update your keys, they can do that together. So you have the key, you can change it, and then you can have the other teams, the other people, and they can also update this within a time frame. So you can set a multi-sig for 24 hours. If all of these 3 are signing the transaction within 24 hours, your keys will be reset to your new set keys. It is that simple. Everything is here. Everything can work. Whatever we need is, I don't know, we need someone to just explain to people how easy it is. You don't need any third party, but it's good to have one kind of trusted entity that people can respect that can do this service. And then you can have your friend or your mom. Because the thing is, if your mom loses that key, doesn't matter. You still have a key, your friend and the other service still have the key. If one or two of them try to collude and steal your things, they can't do it. They need a third person. So you can always do this in a good way. So you can actually pay a service for someone and you can reset keys. This can be done on any EOSIO chain except for one, which they changed the permission, how that works. And I don't know why, because this is one of the best permission structures ever. And no one is using it. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, I think they took those permissions away in the thoughts that it would prevent people from getting hijacked, but they just hijacked something else. They hijacked their Google account or whatever, right? But yeah, using an MSIG and having it even as a service, I want to say some people have talked about that. I think it was like Wilfra or something like that in one of those channels. The you know, a service for projects and users to kind of have that MSIG ability.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about one of the things that when I first got into crypto, we were thinking about is like what happens when you die and you need to pass that account on to somebody else. There needs to be a way to recover it, right? And I don't think that really exists in any blockchain, really.
That's actually interesting. I think it was on this show that Yates said that was one of the main reasons why he got into the DAC and the whatever, is that ability to what happens if you die or incapacitated or whatever. But yeah, it's a real thing.
Dying?
This is how it would look.
Yeah, dying is definitely a real thing.
The people enjoy. No, not for me. We live indefinitely in blockchain. Nothing dies on blockchain.
Yeah.
But that is one of the reasons why EOSIO accounts or that permission structure, that some people really that was a feature, not free transactions, not easy account names that don't start with 0x59 whatever.
Hey, Anders, let's put that up on the full screen. I don't know if I know how to do that, whatever you're looking at.
I can't.
Yeah,
it's blurry.
You need to full screen my camera because that's what I'm doing.
I'm gonna get running here soon, guys. It has been a pleasure speaking with you all this morning and catching up with you.
And thank you for coming, Adrian. That was great.
Absolutely. Always enjoy these. I hope to see you guys around soon.
One question: Are you in Miami?
I am in Miami.
When are we getting coffee on the beach? Because I also in Miami.
Okay, so DM me, and then I'm free this weekend. Actually, I was gonna get together with the Block Babes, which are down in Miami at the one of the crypto centers or something. We were gonna talk shop and get some coffee, so it'd be kind of cool to see some crypto people this weekend.
All right. I will do that.
It's a good job you have the weekend
Thanks
off.
for coming on.
What's that? It's a good job you have the weekend off. You can be you and the Block Babes.
I mean, it does sound terrible, but if I have to represent, I'll try not to make fools of us all. I am going to fail, but I will try hard.
But he's going to fail.
See, this weekend's Mother's Day. I got to do family stuff.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys, take it easy, and good seeing everyone.
Thank you, Adrianna. Thank you very much.
Anders, why do you keep getting killed by zombies?
No, I was tabbing out to change the window and I get attacked. I tried to escape in time, but I had half a heart. So
I've got cats everywhere. I've got jack-o'-lanterns and shit, and every time I turn around, I'm still getting blasted by a creeper. This is BS. Yeah. I swear it's the ops doing it to me.
We're cool. We're not that cool.
I haven't been in for a while, but on the survival map, it's cool. I finally finished the 2-story temple that I've been working on, and the second I finished it, I had a trader with 2 llamas just decide to call it home. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah. He just moved into the basement of the temple, and he's just hanging out.
I hate the sound they make.
It's like just filling us with trauma.
That's what everybody keeps talking about, the sounds and whatever. I have always played Minecraft on mute just because, I mean, as soon as I joined, there was lightning crackling and
That's
none
them.
of that. So then they're like, well, don't you hear the creepers hissing in the background? And I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know that they were telling me they were about to blast. I've never listened to the sounds of Minecraft, so I have no clue what.
Jimmy, I share my screen, so you show that, and I will explain how the key recovery work, because I set this up before. This is on the Wax testnet, so we can see here on the key that it requires a weight of 5 to do anything. And I set this up as a business example, how a business team could set up an account. This is just something I did for a video. So we have, this is something that I has created, it's account recovery, as that this would be a service someone offers, hey, we can do this. And I have 4 different services here. So the 4 different services would be 4 different teams. I don't know, it could be block producers, it could be a game, it could be Corey says, hey, I can do this for people. And we can give him access. So we give his account 1 weight. So he can't do anything alone. And these 4 teams, they can't do anything alone. They can't do anything because they need a weight of 5 to do anything on this account. So they cannot do anything except if they have help of these 2 block producers, or if they have help of the team. So this is the team's private keys. And what I have done here is that, let's say this is the CEO, so he has a weight of 3. He can't do anything alone, but he can do something with his manager, which has a weight of 2. Or he can go in and he can do something with the 3 employees. A manager can always do something together with other manager and 1 employee, or all the 3 employees. So what we do is we can make sure that everyone has the ability to do something without actually contacting the CEO or contacting all the manager. But a user themselves can't change the keys, but it can be done if they work together with other people, which is like, at some level we have to have a trust in a company, but we don't have to give like Michael all access to all nodes, even though he has that right now. So this would be like the owner key is the admin key, if people don't know that. So this can change all keys. It can, like if I have an owner key to someone else, I can log in, I can change your keys, and you have no more access to your account. So this is the key that we can use to change things. And I have a similar setup here on active, but I have it works the exact same way, but this is like, I don't need any services here. It's just perhaps the CEO, perhaps the financial guy, and then we have 2 managers and 3 employees. So the 3 employees can do something together if they all work. They can sign a transaction, they can upgrade some code, but they can't do anything else. And then I just have a custom permission here as well.
And so just to be clear, this can be done on any chain, right? Any EOSIO chain.
Except FIO.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So,
but I don't know. You
easy.
can't change the. I mean, a Wax Cloud wallet can't do this yet. I mean, you can do it with a regular account, but you can't.
Yes.
Yeah.
There might be some limitations.
Well, I mean, same with Wombat, I think, unless you pay for the key yourself. And I'm not even
exactly.
Sure.
You have to have control of the keys to be able to do this, which if anyone has any value, they should not, like, I know one guy that has 168 Alien World lands inside a cloud wallet.
Oh my God.
That is crazy. Because, a cloud wallet, they just need to social engineer, social hack anyone that is employed there, and it could be a bad day. I don't think that will happen, but I would not put 168 Alien World lands in a risk that is that. I would have a setup like this on my owner key in case my computer crash. I have at least 3 different keys on 3 different places, or 4 or 5, and I can make sure that I can travel to the other places and I can recover my things if I have a lot of value.
Yeah, and I don't think I can count on my fingers, the amount of times that you've said, get your important shit off the cloud wallet, right? Like Michael as well, Corey as well. It's like, this is a wallet that you can use, but like, your big stuff should be under your own private keys. And I think
it's a hot wallet for a reason. You should use it as that.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I've got too much shit in cloud wallets right now. That's something I've been thinking about a lot. And you just gotta, just gotta be smart about it. And then by smart, I mean Andrew Smart, not Corey Smart.
Like at least have if you have some value, you don't trust yourself, at least buy a hardware wallet. I mean, they're not perfect, but at least they are not as prone to user failure as having your key on a hard drive. With that said, if someone else has your recovery phrases, it will not be a fun day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do tech. I do have Anchor. I've got a few set up over there. And
hey, I don't know if you remember this, but there on one of the calls or something, Corey in Jimmy D was exactly 12 characters. So what's your asking price for that account?
Oh,
that's a good question.
Really? That's interesting.
That's like super public though too, right? It's like, I don't know, like
Well, it's blockchain, so
true. I mean, no, I know it's all public.
You know, like it's funny because like one of the first conversations Corey and I had was whether we needed to use his last name. So I'm not really sure whether that account is worthwhile for me there, Michael.
Why would you need to use my last name? Does anyone even know my last name? Nobody cares.
I mean, the show is called
I don't
Corey.
Yeah.
It's like Madonna.
I'm trying to cut us a deal, man.
Oh, sorry. Shit. I stopped. I'm sorry. I'm like the worst negotiator ever.
So I think we're beyond the blockchain point of the show, but I do want to share this now that we're in the family part of the show because you guys are awesome.
Nick says that he has a lot of value in the cloud wallet, and no, you shouldn't.
Yeah,
well, a lot of value for you. If $1,000 is a lot of you should probably move it away. If $1,000 is nothing for you, you can leave it there. I mean, it's a low risk, but it's still a risk.
Yeah, and I mean, like I agree. Like with Tech Geek, like. That's $500K on a Wax Cloud wallet is insane to me. I mean, unless you're worth billions, like that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but
well,
I want to share this.
Anything that you're not willing to lose. You shouldn't invest anything you're not willing to lose. So I guess that qualifies for it all, right?
I mean, you shouldn't be investing in crypto if you're not willing to lose it, and you
that's what I'm saying. So I guess under that guise,
if you're not willing to lose it, I mean,
that's me buying Alien Worlds lands for $80. I was like, man, this seems like a dumb idea. It wasn't.
That's what I'll always remember. Back, we were sitting there, we repaired a bunch of Bitcoin miners, and I was looking at my buddy, and I was like, hey. They're selling this digital land. I don't really know, but I think I'm going to roll the dice. Let's try it out. And then obviously that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, right.
So we
I need to build that.
We have a Cryptowriter community thing on the page, so I just want to shout them out. Mostly, because we're doing this on the Cryptowriter channel, but mostly just because I want to revel in our own accomplishments. BTC miner rewards. If you got BTC miners, they're going to start dropping things. So go buy some BTC miners and then send them to the Jimmy and Corey account that Michael set up. So we'd like one. But what I really wanted to show you guys, this is cool. Cryptowriters, they've actually started their development of the Uplift world. And it's modeled on the comic Finney's Arrival. And they've actually started building an in-world type of thing. There's a cool little video here. You guys want to watch it?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Can you make it go full screen so it's bigger?
That's what she said.
There it is. Nailed it.
Sure.
That's what he said.
Wow.
Is it full screen now?
Whatever works for you.
Yeah, it looks full screen.
Okay, sweet. Well, I can't see. I've got a small laptop. I mean, I can't see one. I can only see one screen at a time when full screen, man.
Oh, I thought that said something else back there at first.
Right? Hey, why don't we get you a real copy of Wondershare? Just apropos of nothing.
I mean, I'm just playing what's in the article, man. I thought that was really cool.
I like it. Gotta love water elevators. Good.
Yeah.
It's got to be able to breathe.
It's creative.
Oh wait, this is creative. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like you, Michael.
You abandoned me. You went back over there.
No.
I'm not on the right place right now.
Guys, I actually had to take off. I got some deliveries coming in a couple minutes. So you guys rock. Thank you very much for coming on and just being cool resources for everybody in the space, but mostly just for me because I get a lot of value out of just being your friends and shit, and it makes me happy. Yeah,
that's the
OBS
most important part.
Right. Yeah. That's a good note. NK, CSS, whatever.
Nick.
Oh, Nick. Nick's help. That's helpful. Yeah, OBS is free, but it doesn't necessarily do editing or anything. So I actually run OBS and Filmora just because it lets you fuck around with some shit. I did just find something that I loaded up today that lets me record game screens way easier than OBS. So I'm pretty excited about that. So anyway, I gotta run. You guys are rad. We'll talk to you soon. Anders, we should actually talk about the thing though, the freaking multi-sig thing. Because we're dealing with that with Legend and the Uplift right now. And so we'll just hire you to build it for us and then we'll sell it to everybody else for $1 million.
Somebody I know.
I've been poking.
Somebody I know might have
actually do something, and you're gonna go and pay Anders to do it,
dude. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. You can come too. I'll give you some Aether, buddy. It'll be fine, buddy. Come on, buddy.
Done.
Right.
But actually, you know what? Let's wrap it up. It's a good time to wrap it up. So
okay,
we'll
goodbye.
be back here on the Crypto Roundtable next week, and we'll be back on our show. So thank you, Michael, Anders, and our past guests, for joining us. And we'll see you guys later. Hey, you guys want to do the double chop to end it off? You can time it out. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.